Hey YouTubers, this is Tony, and today I'm going to show you how to remove the drive belt and the alternator off of a 2007 Chevy Silverado 1500 Classic. You'll need a couple tools to do the job successfully, guys. You'll need a 3/8 ratchet. You'll need a long 3/8 driver. You'll need a couple of sockets. You'll need an 18mm socket, 15mm socket, a 13mm socket, a 10 and an 8mm socket. Here's the belt tensioner, guys, on this vehicle. And what you do is you take your ratchet and insert the ratchet into the hole built into the belt tensioner. Then what I do, guys, is I take my 18mm socket, place it over the arm of the ratchet, insert my long driver, and I give the socket a crank to the left or the passenger side of the vehicle. And what this does is it frees up the tension on the belt, and then you can safely slip the belt off of any pulley. What I do next, guys, is I examine the belt for cracks in these grooves. If you see an excessive amount of shiny stuff in between these grooves, it's probably a good time for you to replace the belt. Also, guys, word of advice to you, if this is your first time replacing a belt on any vehicle, I highly recommend that you snap a photograph of the belt diagram, meaning while the belt is still on the car, you want to snap a picture of how that belt is routed. Oftentimes these belts can be very difficult to replace if you're not sure where they actually go. So to save time, just snap yourself a picture. We'll reinstall this belt a little bit later, so now we're going to move on to how to disconnect the alternator and remove that. Also, guys, special note, when working on any electrical component in any vehicle, it's probably a safe idea to disconnect the negative side terminal of your battery. Okay, guys, we're now at the alternator. There are a couple of things that you need to disconnect before you could actually get to the alternator. The alternator itself is surrounded by this black air box. There are a couple of bolts you'll need to remove. You'll need to remove this 8mm bolt here. You'll need to remove this 8mm bolt here. You'll need to remove this 10mm bolt here. And there's another 10mm bolt there. Once you do that, you can slide this little housing out of the way. There's also a 13mm bolt here, just behind this pulley. You want to disconnect that as well. The alternator itself is secured by two 14mm bolts, one here. I'm sorry, guys, they're 15mm bolts, one here and one there. You want to disconnect this electrical connector here. You want to disconnect this battery lead here, and then you can safely remove your old alternator. What you want to do next, guys, is you want to compare your old alternator with your new alternator. They should be identical. And then what you want to do then is install your new alternator. You want to put in your two 15mm bolts. You want to hook up your electrical connector. You want to hook up your battery lead. You then want to reinsert this 10mm bolt here, this 10mm bolt here. You want to reinsert this 13mm bolt here. You then want to put your air box back together. You want to reinsert this 8mm bolt here and this 8mm bolt here. You don't ever need to disconnect this connector here, guys. You can just move the airbox housing to the side once you take it apart. So now that you've reconnected everything, you're ready to put the drive belt back on. Okay, guys, now that we have reinstalled the belt, what I'm going to do is put my ratchet back into the hole on the belt tensioner, and I'm going to crank that towards the passenger side of the vehicle, and then I can safely slip my belt back onto this pulley. On this vehicle, you probably want to route your belt through each and every pulley and make this your last pulley to put your belt back on too. It'll be a lot easier this way. So once you put the belt back onto the pulleys, release the tension so that it tightens back up. And what you want to do, guys, is you want to examine the pulleys. You want to make sure the pulley is sitting everywhere it needs to be sitting on each pulley. Make sure the belt is sitting everywhere it needs to sit on each pulley. It's very important. Again, guys, I can't stress this enough. If this is your first time removing a belt from any vehicle, please make sure that you snap a photograph of the belt diagram. Trust me, it will save you a lot of time. On some vehicles, you don't have open space like this to really fool with the belt, so you really can't see, and oftentimes folks will put the belt around the wrong pulley, and then they'll have an excessive amount of belt left over with no place to put it. That simply means that you missed a pulley someplace, or the routing of the pulley that you used is incorrect. Oftentimes the diagram to the pulley is mounted on the engine of the vehicle or in your owner's manual. So now that I've examined the belt and made sure that it's sitting everywhere that it's supposed to be sitting on each and every pulley, what you want to do next is you want to reconnect the negative side battery terminal and then start the vehicle, and you should be pretty much done. I don't know if I missed anything or have anything else to tell you about replacing the belt and the alternator on this vehicle. It's pretty easy, guys. If you have any questions, send me a message. Thanks for watching, and take care.